Hello, third graders. It's Mrs. Zetterholm. We are going to practice writing a science CER. Say CER. Great. CER actually stands for claim, evidence, and reasoning. And this might be your first time seeing those words put together, but it won't be your last time. We'll practice this throughout the year, and you're actually going to do this in 4th grade, in 5th grade, and in grades even after that. So let's learn about what a CER is. So very first thing we need to know is the C stands for claim. Say claim. Good. The claim is like the answer. So the claim is a statement that you believe to be true that solves a scientific question or problem. So if you're ever asked a question for a science CER, then your claim will be your answer. It's usually just about one sentence. It's you answering the question. The E in CER stands for evidence. Evidence is so important in our CER because evidence is our clues. So the evidence will be the data or research you've gathered, including observations, investigations, readings, videos, or any other information. So your evidence is going to be the things that you have found, whether you're looking at it or whether you have data, that's going to prove or be evidence for your claim. It's going to help support your claim. The last letter is R, and that stands for reasoning. So R is for reasoning. Say reasoning. Good. That's the why. It means why does it matter? How does it affect science? So the reasoning shows how the evidence will answer the question to solve the problem. Okay? So it's how does our evidence, how does this actually affect our answer? So the big question here is, because I know this is all just a bunch of new words for you and you're probably thinking, what is this, Mrs. Zetterholm? Why should I use it? Claims, evidence, and reasoning help you work through problems to arrive at a scientific explanation. Approaching a question using a CER helps you develop better understanding of the problem and gives you the ability to communicate your thoughts clearly and scientifically. So it's how scientists write their answers to questions. If a scientist is asked a question, they are not just going to say their answer. They're going to need to give evidence for their answer, and they're going to need to explain how that evidence proves their answer and give the scientific reasoning for why. So let's learn a little bit more about our CER. The CER that we're going to do today is going to be related to our lima bean. We just had that dissection today. You should have done that already. If you did not dissect your lima bean, go back and do that first. This is going to be our rubric that we are scoring our CER on. We'll get points for our claim, for our evidence, and for our reasoning. The claim, to earn full points, which is what we want, we will need to make sure that our claim is complete and accurate. That means that we have answered the question completely and that our answer is correct. To earn full points for evidence, we will need to make sure that we include some data or some patterns, and we've used our labels accurately. So we need to include accurate, which means correct, information that will prove our claim. Finally, to earn our full points in reasoning, we need to make sure that we are citing the scientifically accurate reason using correct vocabulary, connecting that to our claim, and making sure that we're showing that we understand the concept. So this is kind of tying everything together. It's describing how it relates to science. So let's look at what our claim, evidence, reasoning is. Before we do that, you either will have a piece of paper in front of you if you're in person. If you do, get that out. But if you're at home or you don't have that paper in front of you, get a lined sheet of paper and please make yours look like mine. Notice that I've skipped some lines between claim and evidence and reasoning. You'll need a little space between claim and evidence. Evidence will need to have a couple more lines, and reasoning will need to have the most. That's because the claim will be the shortest, our evidence will be the next shortest, and then our longest one will be our reasoning. Pause the video and make your paper look like mine. All right, it's time to get to work. This is what my paper looks like. If you're working on a line sheet of paper, that's perfectly okay. It's basically the same thing. So this says wonders of plants, claim, evidence, reasoning. That's what we just did with our lima bean. Our prompt says, write a scientific explanation for the parts of the seed. Make a claim and state your evidence and reasoning. So remember that a claim, if we go back here, a claim was the answer, what we believe to be true. Okay, it's the answer. So about the parts of a seed or about a seed in general. What you're going to write is what I'm going to type. So a good claim for this prompt would be this. I'll make my font a lot smaller. There we are. So a good claim would be something like a seed, and this is a lima bean seed. A seed contains everything a plant needs to begin its life, period. So I'm making a claim about that seed. I'm explaining how that seed is working. I know that from my dissection, it has that baby plant or the embryo, it has that spot for food storage, and it has a seed coat. So it has everything it needs to begin its life. Go ahead and write your claim down now. It should be just like mine. Pause the video if you need to. All right, we are done with our claim. It's time to move to evidence. Evidence is the data that we have observed. And in our picture, they give us some of that data that we just found out while we did our dissection. So let's talk about the things that the seed contains that lets it begin its life. There are 3 labels on this picture, so we're going to have 3 pieces of evidence today. Our first piece of evidence, move this up, is that it has a seed coat. That's on the outside. We found that first. So one piece of evidence is it has a seed coat. What's another observation that we noticed about our lima bean? Well, it has an embryo, which is that baby plant inside. It has an embryo. Maybe I'll add inside because it's not on the outside. Another thing we noticed through our observation was that it has food stored inside. It has food stored inside. So those are 3 things that we noticed. We noticed them, number 1, when we did our dissection, but also we have them here as our labels on our lima bean. So notice this is our answer, that's the claim. Here's our evidence, what we've observed, and now it's time to do our reasoning. If you're not done writing down evidence, pause the video. All right, time to move to reasoning. This is connecting it to the bigger idea of science, how it's related to our scientific topic, which is wonders of plants. So we're relating our evidence to our claim. Here's what I would write in this situation, and you'll copy mine too after I'm done typing. Oops, let me zoom down a little bit. All these funny text boxes. I'm sure you've been in this situation too. So I would write the seed needs the seed coat to protect it stretch this out a little bit, to protect it and to keep it from drying out. So I'm explaining my first piece of evidence. Notice I'm talking about a seed coat, and that's what I had as my first piece of evidence here. My next sentence, I will write, it needs the nutrients inside because it cannot make its own food until it sprouts leaves. Now, this sentence is actually about the food storage inside of my lima bean. That's why I mentioned nutrients. It cannot make its own food yet, so it has that food stored inside. It cannot make its own food yet. You might be wondering why I skipped over embryo. I could have done embryo next, I just didn't. As long as I have all of my information tied and wrapped up, then that's all I need to do. So I need to do a sentence about the embryo. So I will include, it has the embryo. Oops, I need to capitalize that word. It has the embryo because this is what will become the adult. That embryo is what will grow to become the adult. So now I've included talking about the embryo, and that is connecting to my third piece of evidence. So now it's your turn to make sure you write down your reasoning. You've just done your very first science CER. Give yourself a pat on the back. Good job.